Before your final passing, you must experience a symbolic death. You must release the notion that you possess a life, so you can truly grasp that you are the essence of life itself. This subject matter deeply fascinates me, as it often leads to the most transformative spiritual experience. Once you commence on this journey of dismantling your identity and then experiencing rebirth, your entire perspective alters. If you find yourself currently embarking on this journey, I hope this discourse provides some enlightenment on the nature of your ongoing process and what you might expect once you have entered the phase of rebirth. From the instant we take our first breath, we start crafting our narrative. The moment you encounter the reality of this world, a name is bestowed upon you. You are born into a setting where you will be conditioned, fundamentally programmed. You are taught what to think and how to think. This conditioning shapes what we regard as our personality, the unique way we interact with others. We grow up nurturing desires, feelings, beliefs, and adopting labels that we believe define us as individuals. We also associate with the narrative of who I am. If you were asked to describe yourself, notice that most of what you might recount can be altered at any given moment. Understand that everything you mention is merely a part of the narrative attached to your character, not your true essence. In my perspective, the spiritual journey is simultaneously the most agonizing and the most beautiful experience one can undertake. This is because your narrative and what you've identified yourself to be begin to disintegrate. Everything, and I mean everything, you thought you knew ceases to be truth. This process is more about discarding and unlearning than it is about acquiring new knowledge. Since the ego holds these narratives together, as you start severing those attachments, your ego begins to disintegrate. It actually perceives that you are in mortal danger if you relinquish certain aspects. This is why there's so much resistance encountered on this journey. This is why people perceive change to be so challenging, because the ego doesn't wish to perish. It seeks to maintain full control, to affirm its existence. Much like Pinocchio, it yearns to be the authentic you, to be a real entity. However, if you deeply examine what the ego is, you'll find that the concept of the ego isn't even real, because there's no concrete thinker. There is no one present to claim ownership of thoughts. Thoughts simply occur, and our attachment to them creates the illusion that these thoughts are a reflection of who we are and that we are actively generating them. The sense of, I am thinking, has been constructed. However, the ego is also just another narrative. When people suggest killing your ego, it doesn't literally mean obliterating it so that it ceases to exist. It's impossible to actually annihilate your ego. It's more about disassociating from it so that it no longer governs your actions. In due course, the ego will calm down, realizing that it's no longer the one in charge, and you can find harmony with it. The concept of dying before your final death is quite crucial, especially if you've endured a great deal of suffering in life or are currently in a state of suffering. During this process, you genuinely start perceiving everything for what it truly is. In this moment, ask yourself, without thoughts, what remains? Without categorizing and judging everything, what remains? Without attempting to mold this moment to fit your expectations, what remains? The truth is, you can't truly comprehend what I'm indicating through language. No words or responses encapsulate the truth. Just look around, just be present. What remains is simply what is. It just is. And when it comes to releasing emotions like fear, anxiety, and depression, it's crucial to realize that these are merely narratives of the mind, and they hold no inherent truth. Consider how you react when experiencing one of these so-called issues. Let's take fear for example, because it's often the root of all emotions. As fear arises, that tightness in your chest becomes apparent. Scenarios of potential outcomes start racing through your mind, and now you're ensnared in a mental illusion. What you believe to be true isn't even occurring. Why is it that I can hold and caress a snake, but when you get close to one, you panic and immediately enter fight or flight mode? You start perspiring and experiencing flashbacks. The mere sight of snakes in movies triggers intense terror. The only difference between us lies in the way your thoughts and feelings respond compared to mine. But, if you subtract the resistance to these thoughts and emotions that accompany fear, and take a step back to truly observe what's happening, you'll notice something like, there's energy pulsating in my chest, but it's not hurting me, it's not inherently negative, it's just energy. And thoughts are occurring too, but they aren't happening to anyone specific, they're just occurring. There's no need to subscribe to the narratives. No need to label these uncomfortable sensations as bad. They're just energy. These are the narratives you need to relinquish. These are the elements that need to dissolve before you can experience a rebirth into truth. Everything you consider yourself to be is just another narrative. You don't suffer from anxiety. You don't harbor fear. You're not afflicted with depression. Strip away the labels and narratives, and see what's left. These are merely phenomena occurring, and they're occurring to no one in particular. You don't need to adopt these phenomena as defining aspects of who you are, because they don't define you. You are the conscious observer of these occurrences. You are not your body. You are not your mind. Although they are made from your essence, they don't define you directly. When you undergo this symbolic death, it will be painful. We cannot evade pain, but we can avoid suffering. This death may feel like your entire reality has been shattered, and that's because it has been. You may even start mourning the old narrative of yourself, and that's perfectly acceptable. You might isolate yourself for some time, and that's just the universe readying you for your rebirth. The time has come to perceive the truth, to live in truth, and not be shackled by the stories and limitations of the mind. What you truly are is boundless, limitless energy. You are all things and all beings. Collectively, we are the one and only divine presence. The notion of separation is yet another illusion. What you are is life. You don't possess a life, you are life itself. Without you, there's no experience. Without you, there's no human character, no nature. Everything exists within us, not the other way around. You are not a part of this world. The world is a part of you. Once you experience rebirth, these truths will become crystal clear. The humorous aspect of this entire process is that this has always been our true nature. We have never been what we thought ourselves to be. Ask yourself, who were you before the world began dictating who you are?